out on Facebook if you want to join us there, or let your friends know that we're out on Facebook right now. And we'll be starting here in just about a minute. You know, like we like to start things on time. Angela, hey, how you doing? From Pennsylvania, Bakersfield, California. Kansas is here. North Carolina is here with us. Welcome. Again, chat it up, guys. Any questions you want to add on the chat? As you know, Jen goes through several snips, and then as you ask questions, she'll be able to work those in, whether it's after each, you know, main snip or toward the end of the presentation, or if we have time at the end, she can answer several questions. And of course, you can always send in your questions to support@euphoriascience.com. That's support@euphoriascience.com. And we end up getting those questions out to Jen eventually. And hey, Canada, welcome. Hey, Kansas City, thinking of you guys surviving the storm, watching the news and the you know, tornadoes. Hey, Vegas, how you doing? New York City, Houston, Kentucky. We got another Ron from Las Vegas. Fantastic. Again, another minute, guys. Who's going to get the last shout out? We are live on Facebook right now. What a fun Wednesday to be alive, right? Somebody mentioned the other day, right? Life is for living. Amen. And since if you're on this call, you're breathing, congratulations. Let's live it up today, right? We have got the coolest offering probably in the history of mankind that we're aware of. I mean, finally customized DNA-based nutrition, right? We take you plus nutrition and we give you your nutrition. And we love seeing everybody share their reports online. We hope you go share your testimonials out on Facebook. And that's our Experiencing Euphoria Facebook group, Experiencing Euphoria on Facebook. If you're just new joining this call, go join us also on Instagram. It's Euphoria Science on Instagram. And then, of course, all of our testimonials are on Experiencing Euphoria on Facebook. So we'd love to see you there. You just go kind of say, hey, you want to join the group, and we'll get you added. Wow, we got people from Sweden watching. How fun is that? Hopefully someday, right? We're going to be there. We got Michigan, and I think we're ready to start. So with that, I'm really thrilled to be able to welcome Dr. Jen Myers, our PhD. She's a certified genetic, nutrigenetic specialist. We're thrilled she's here. Thanks so much, Jen. The time is yours. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a fabulous, as Craig put it, hump day. Wednesday here. It's so much fun for me to be able to be here and discuss all these amazing SNPs and how our bodies are going to accept and react, and what's going to happen when we start taking things like this nutrition, right? Which is super important. So there's a lot to run through. I was prepping Craig and said, keep me on track, because within cardiovascular support, as we know, guess what? It is one of the number one killers in the country, right? And I have some statistics I'm going to push out, hey, from Newport, and go over 3 different SNPs in particular. So we're going to jump right in and dive right in. Of course, cardiovascular SNPs, or heart health, right? It's super important. How many people here have had issues with their heart themselves, or how many people have had family members that have? If a single person doesn't raise their hand, I'd be very surprised, right? So cardiovascular health and wellness and supporting these things is really important. So the American College of Cardiology has actually estimated cardiovascular disease, of course, to be the leading cause of death in the US, right? So this was back, I pulled these numbers from there, and it was back in 2016. So just think it could be worse. It probably is worse now. Over 800,000 deaths per year. 847,768, I believe, was the exact number. In 2016, deaths in the US, okay? So think about that. Between 2006, what I've read, and 2016, this, of course, all available on the American College of Cardiology.com, cardiovascular disease increased by 18.6%, 18.6% in 10 years. That doesn't sound like much, but that's 1 in every 4 adults. 1 in every 4. How many people are on this call right now that I can see? 57, not counting Facebook. It's a lot of people, right? So now if we understand how we can come in and support these cardiovascular genetic predispositions, and we'll talk about that as well as lifestyle, imagine what we can do to help those numbers, right? So the cost of cardiovascular disease in the US was actually estimated at, oh my goodness, 351, I believe, 0.2 billion. 351.2 billion in 2014, 2015. So that's a lot of money. That's hospital visits, that's prescription medications, that's doctor visits. Imagine a world, right? Everybody says this when it comes to things. Imagine a world where we could actually decrease these costs. Well, that world is here. This is happening now. This is the present. We're able to look at our genetic predispositions, associate our lifestyles, and make cardiovascular disease, or things like cardiovascular disease, become something that hopefully we're not going to have to spend as much money on, see as much ER visits, and help people feel well and better, because it's a big problem in a bunch of different families, of course, I think in every family, unfortunately. So I'm kind of going to go over some of the basics with you before I jump into the SNPs, if you don't mind, just because I think understanding some of the basics helps us understand the SNPs and what I'm going to talk about. So kind of the three most common, and there's more, but three most common cardiovascular diseases that we see, of course, is coronary artery disease, or CAD, right? This is damage to the heart's major blood vessels, and it's done by fat, of course, which creates plaque and narrows our arteries, so that way blood flow doesn't flow, and nutrients and all these things doesn't flow as effectively or as well as it's supposed to. Okay, myocardial infarction, MI, or heart attacks, right? Strokes is also in this as well. I mean, I know a lot of people who have suffered from strokes and heart attacks within my family, and it breaks my heart. It really does. And if we can help even just a minuscule amount prevent this, then good for us, right? Number three would be high blood pressure. High blood pressure is a problem that we see quite often, and it's something that is genetically predisposed. Absolutely, there's a few SNPs and genes that help us support a healthy blood pressure, but it's also a lot of lifestyle. With cardiovascular, there is with everything, but especially within the cardiovascular field, lifestyle and genetic predisposition is huge, and they come together with a vengeance, or they support us in a very healthy way. So we'll get into that. Thank you for listing those top three. Of course, there's also congestive heart failure, heart arrhythmias. There's a lot of different cardiovascular diseases that are included, but those were the top three, so I just wanted to go over those. So then let's talk about what is cholesterol. What is cholesterol? What is HDL? What is LDL? What are these things that we're looking at with these SNPs to support in a healthy way? So total cholesterol, when we're looking at it through the blood work, of course, and we're talking about total cholesterol, it's a type of fat that's found in our blood, right? So that's why when we pull your total cholesterol, we're measuring that. So we actually want a good, healthy amount of cholesterol. That's important. It's actually made by the liver, which now here we're talking some other things, right? Liver detoxification. You're going to hear me make these associations quite frequently, because it's all one system. Yes, we want to go to the cardiologist to have our heart looked at, but there's so many other systems involved with this. So that's why we get to love looking at genetic predispositions and lifestyle, because we can tie all that in together. So total cholesterol being a type of fat that's found in our blood, made by the liver, as I was saying, and it's a precursor for every single one of our hormones. If you've ever looked at a hormone or a steroid chart, first and foremost is cholesterol. Cholesterol, and I'm going to run through them real quick, and they're going to be some recognizable words, and some maybe you haven't. Look at this chart so you can see the association, right? Cholesterol, pregnenolone, progesterone goes into cortisol, cortisone, aldosterone has to do with our adrenals, okay? DHEA, testosterone. Testosterone goes into our estrogens, E1, 2, 3, estradiol, estrone, estriol. That's from cholesterol. This guy's way up here and makes a connection to all these different hormones that are necessary for us to feel good, to be happy, to decrease inflammation, to do all the things that we need to do on a daily basis. And I know I repeat that statement a lot, but guess what? It's also tied in together and super important. So cholesterol being the precursor to our hormones, we want a healthy amount, but we don't want too much. We don't want too much, and we don't want too little. Both are just as bad, right? And can increase risk for cardiovascular disease. So a healthy amount is really important. HDL or our good cholesterol, right? These are our good guys. So HDL is our high density lipoprotein. Other screens will be shown once we get to the SNPs. You just kind of get to sit here and look at my pretty face and listen to my voice. I'm so sorry, but we just kind of want to make it to where it's casual. Me putting together SNPs for or slides for this, I would love to do. It's just, I would rather sit here and chat and spend my time on that versus the slides. So hopefully you don't mind listening to my voice. I apologize if you're just staring at SNPs. High density lipoprotein are our good cholesterol, right? Those good guys. These are scavengers and they cruise around our bloodstream. I always talk about cars and cruising, of course. Cruise around our bloodstream and they're removing this harmful or this bad cholesterol, which is our LDL, which we'll talk about, and they carry it back to the liver. Again, there's another liver association, right? Where it's actually removed from the body. So there's another link with liver detoxification. So you'll start to see that all this stuff really works together as a whole. High levels actually decrease the risk of heart disease or cardiovascular disease. High levels of good cholesterol. We want higher levels. Low levels actually increase the risk. So we want a good, healthy amount of HDL or high density lipoprotein, which is the good guys. And then there's LDL. So that's our low density lipoprotein, or that's the bad cholesterol. It's bad, but it's also good in a healthy amount. Again, we want to keep these, we need all of this stuff. So we want to keep it in a healthy amount. And that's why when we refer to the Wellness Action Plan, we always talk about a healthy amount, a healthy range. We need that. That's really important. So the low density lipoprotein, or the LDL, is our, of course, again, that's our bad cholesterol. It makes up most of our body's cholesterol, to be honest with you. Too much can obviously build up onto the walls in our blood vessels and create plaque. And this is bad. And this is where it increases risk for cardiovascular disease and the different types that I talked about. So this, of course, we don't want narrowing of the arteries. That's not good. That increases the risk for these things like coronary artery disease, myocardial infarction, high blood pressure, which there's another component we'll talk about as well. So having a healthy amount of LDL is super important, and that's why we're addressing these particular SNPs. We're looking at total cholesterol and being able to support a healthy level. We're looking at HDL and we're looking at LDL as well. Now, the other one that comes into the mix that I'm sure you all have heard about when you've been tested through your physician or practitioner is triglycerides, right? So triglycerides are actually also probably even more common than LDL, I would say. It's a type of fat in the body. Okay, so this actually stores excess energy from our diet. So it stores excess energy from the diet. Diet, that's key, right? That's a key word there. Triglycerides are highly affected by lifestyle. So the things that we eat, those oils, when you go and eat fast food or you eat out at restaurants, we don't know what type of oils that they are using. I mean, they have to use cheap oils because they have to be able to feed a lot of people. So these oils are what causes a lot of problems with elevated triglycerides, especially what I see in clinic. You start to people onto more of eating at home and using healthy oils, because all oils aren't bad too. And I'm trying to plug little lifestyle stuff in here for you guys as well, and not just talk about SNPs, because I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it probably 150 to 200 more times, if not more. Genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Everybody seems to think that, hey, you know what, this little pill I'm taking to support my genetic weaknesses is going to make me all better. I'm going to feel better today. And you know what, I'm going to bring something up that Joel brought up to me, and I think it's super important. Today I'm going to feel better. I'm going to take this. No, this is something that's going to make you feel better for a very, 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 very long time, right? This is working on the biochemistry of our body and supporting these possible weaknesses in a really healthy way. So this is not a today thing, okay? You're taking it today to help your future, right? To help you feel better long term and decrease your genetically predisposed risk to these things. But you really have to focus on lifestyle, especially when it comes to cardiovascular support. Exercise, the heart, what is it? It's a giant muscle, right? We want to support the heart in a healthy way. Cardio, they call it cardio because it supports our cardiovascular, system. So there is a big link there, of course. So we want to make sure that we do things like healthy amount of exercise. There's an excess and a deficiency when it comes to anything, including exercise. Healthy exercise, right? And doing those high intensity interval trainings. And also doing things like eating right and eating the right food, staying away from those oils that are just not well absorbed by the body and actually create more plaque within our arteries. So again, lifestyle absolutely can be a huge reason or effect, as well as genetics, to cardiovascular disease. So if you take the combination of elevated total cholesterol, right? This is worst case scenario. Elevated total cholesterol, elevated low density lipoprotein or LDL, elevated triglycerides, and a low level of HDL or high density lipoprotein, we're increasing our risk for cardiovascular disease times 100, right? There's another marker that we look at in practice, and it actually is something that we look at here as well in our genetic SNPs, CRP gene, right? That third one down, CRP, C-reactive protein. I look at an HS-CRP. That can tell me a lot about cardiovascular risk and inflammation within the body. So there's a lot of links here that are actually coincide with cardiovascular disease and anything, in fact, that we can go through. Illness, chronic illness, not so much acute, although there are some things here, but mainly chronic. Chronic illness, that means we need to take this stuff, right? Longer period. This isn't acute. This isn't a short-term fix for when we sprain our ankle. No, this is to support our body long-term, lifelong. And this is something we can take every single day for the rest of our lives, and we should. All right, Craig, I'm going to roll into my first SNP finally. Okay, take a drink real quick, sorry. ApoB. Right, so ApoB is an important SNP. Of course, they all, in my opinion, are very important. Apolipoprotein B, healthy lipid support, of course. So this is a glycoprotein, right? It plays a central role in the human metabolism, okay? Human lipoprotein, excuse me, I should say that, human lipoprotein metabolism. So this is the main component of LDL, or that low density lipoprotein, the bad cholesterol, which we still need a healthy amount in. And it's also helping us provide a healthy level of LDL, because we need that. And this gene can influence good cardiovascular health. That's why we address it. So this SNP can also influence things like hypo, low, or hyper, high cholesterolemia, which means we have too much or too little cholesterol. So we want to balance it. We want a good, healthy balance of this SNP. So the liver and the intestines are actually involved in the production of this ApoB, right? So think about it. Again, liver and intestines, those are two different systems that we may not even consider when we think about cardiovascular health and wellness. So this is a healthy, natural biochemical process that's essential for a healthy heart. So this SNP is very important to look at, because we are going to address that healthy level of what we call LDL or bad cholesterol. All right, so next SNP, if you don't mind for me, Craig, is the there we go, CYP11B2. Craig, I don't remember what you called it, pretty young thing, something like that. He was talking about it, made me chuckle. What do you think of this? And actually, well, yeah, let's associate it to that, right? A pretty young thing. So this is association with aldosterone. Now, remember when I was kind of going down that line of steroid hormones, how cholesterol was at the top, aldosterone is in there as well, right? So it has an influence. It's a steroid hormone that has an influence and plays a major role, right, in the proper balance between electrolytes and fluid levels in the body. Okay, so this helps us maintain a healthy blood pressure. So this is the blood pressure SNP that we are looking at. Okay, so adrenal functioning is involved in a lot of different things: blood pressure, cardiovascular, mitochondrial detoxification. It's actually a mitochondrial precursor, healthy blood pressure, and this SNP in particular, right? So there's a lot of connection being made here. Pretty young thing there. Craig just put it up there. Sorry, that made me chuckle. Right, so adrenals are a component that has to do with our blood pressure. It also has to do with mitochondria and detoxification, which are other systems that we're looking at as well. It's a precursor, like I said, for mitochondria. This SNP is involved in the synthesis of different things like cholesterol, as well as our steroids, which are our natural anti-inflammatories, right? There's the inflammation word, and inflammation part again. So this stuff is all interconnected. So also other proteins as well, right? So we start to see this connection with everything involved here. It's not just cardiovascular support, it's detoxification, it's mitochondria, it's immune, it's inflammatory, it's methylation, homocysteine. High homocysteine levels can increase risk for cardiovascular disease. It's all interconnected, right? Neurotransmitters, okay? So all these things have an influence on each other. And that's what I'm trying to get across to everybody is, this product does more than just, I'm going to feel better today, okay? So I'm going to go on to the next one because I want to be able to answer some questions, and I can't believe my timing. I think this is a record, so that's awesome. The PON1, right? So this is lipid oxidation support. This SNP has an effect on our HDL, or our good cholesterol, in our blood. Okay, so it manages our HDL, or our good cholesterol, by attaching itself and protecting our healthy, remember we have this healthy amount of everything, healthy LDL, or low density lipoprotein, which is can be bad cholesterol, bad in an unhealthy amount. So it actually keeps it from being oxidized, right? And once it's oxidized, it can potentially lead to plaque buildup on the walls of the arteries, and then it can cause issues like myocardial infarction, strokes, different things like that. So this reaction kind of keeps the free radicals, we've heard this term in detoxification, of course, from attacking our lipoproteins, our healthy lipoproteins, right? Detoxification again. So all this stuff is so interconnected. So the kidneys and the liver are involved in this biochemical process, and pulling another thing into the mix, kidneys, which are also involved in things like healthy blood pressure, right? Because the kidneys have a lot to do with our fluid and our metabolism of electrolytes and things like that. So it's involved in the CYP1, or pretty young thing, SNP. I'm going to have to use that all the time now, Craig. Thank you for that one. So there's a component of so many different things, as well as detoxifying toxic metabolites, right? So things like insecticides, pesticides, all these different things that we're constantly exposed to. This SNP actually has a component to it to help us detoxify from these toxic things. So it is multifunctioning, most of them are. So we're not just supporting cardiovascular health, we're supporting detoxification process and the process of what can happen if we don't get these toxic metabolites out of our system that can lead to things like cardiovascular disease. So with that, ApoB, let's go back and conclude. Healthy LDL, or low density lipoprotein cholesterol. We need a healthy amount. It's super important. CYP11B2, healthy blood pressure, right? Has to do with aldosterone, the balance of electrolytes and fluids to create a healthy blood pressure. PON1, healthy cholesterol oxidation, being able to take our HDL, bind it with our healthy LDL, and keep it from oxidizing to become toxic and become an issue of plaque, where we can increase our risk for cardiovascular disease. I can't tell you enough how much lifestyle is also a cofactor in this, right? So we can't just take this stuff every day and think I'm taking my nutrition, I don't have to worry about anything. That's absolutely not the case, not the case. So we want to make sure that we support these SNPs and these weaknesses in a healthy way, but we also remember exercise. Again, the heart is a giant muscle. Exercise, right? And within your limits. Don't ever push it. There's an excess to everything. Healthy foods, of course, are very important. Staying away from those oils and those oils that our body doesn't absorb well. Peanut, canola. I know there's lots more, and off the top of my head, I want to start getting to some questions. So let me just look at this. All right, Barnes, after taking the supplements, how will I know if I'm getting better? Is there another reason to re-swab? Barnes, you don't have to re-swab, right? These genetic variants never change. Now, they can be activated and inactivated, these SNPs, but they don't change. This is who you are. It's like the hand that you're dealt. You get it from, you know, as everybody's getting ready to go to Vegas next month, you get this card or this hand and you think, well, that's not a very good one. Well, guess what? You can't change it until the next time. So I guess the next time would be our children and down. Okay, yeah, anyway, you get the point. So how do you know you're feeling better? Well, you just kind of start to measure those little bits of sustainable things that you notice throughout the day. Obviously, you can go to your practitioner and have all your blood work done. In fact, I always recommend it. Do a baseline, find out where you're at, and then go back after 3 months, go back after 6 months, go back after a year, and have these things checked frequently. I do blood work as well, just to make sure that we're staying on the right path and we don't need to make any tweaks anywhere. So you'll start to notice sustainable things like energy. I'm not really tired at 2 or 3 in the afternoon like I used to be. Great. Sleeping. I'm sleeping. I notice I feel like I'm sleeping a little better. I'm not a morning person per se, but I don't wake up dragging myself out of bed. I'm a little tired still, but I get going. I'm not getting sick as often, right? So these are the things that you're going to start to notice on your own in sustainable amounts. It's got to be these small sustainable amounts. These big changes that everybody wants, they don't stick. They don't stay, you know, and it doesn't, when we're influencing biochemistry, we want these small, noticeable, sustainable symptoms that you start to notice that are dissipating a little bit. Okay, cholesterol is usually over 200, HDL is 90. That's great. I don't think I've ever seen an HDL at 90. So that's wonderful, Brian. Considered high cholesterol, assuming HDL is in the 80. So here's my personal opinion, right? It's me talking. I get to talk. This is my show, so I get to say my personal opinion here. I consider a healthy cholesterol amount 180 to 220. If you are below that, it's not healthy. If you are above that, it's becoming not healthy. So Brian, I think that's great. You've got usually over, I don't know how much over you would say, but if it's just a touch over, that's wonderful. An HDL of 90, great. Make sure your ratio of HDL to total cholesterol or even LDL cholesterol is within healthy range, and that's great. How long would you wait to check blood work to see if it's changed? I would wait 3 months. I typically have, unless there's something significant, I see a lot of sick people that I need to check sooner, like within a month, I will. But usually I recommend about 3 months. It takes about that long for the biochemistry, including hormones and stuff, to make a change. So I would say 3 months after you start your euphoria. So I'm going to go into the Q&A here. What about risk of low blood pressure? Here's the beauty of this, right? So that's a great question, Kaylin, about low blood pressure. So what it does is it helps balance, not throw you into low. We're not trying to give you a prescription medication that could possibly tank and lower your blood pressure. That's not what this is. This is supporting these SNPs in a healthy way to be able to maintain or balance a healthy. Too low of blood pressure is bad too. We want to help bring that up and support that fluid and electrolyte balance so that way you have a healthy level of blood pressure. Because again, I said it, too high, too low, no matter what we're talking about, both of them are bad in a sense, especially when I'm talking about this cardiovascular stuff. Too high of things is bad, too low of things can increase your risk as well. So that's a great question. Let's see, I think you guys are, okay. I don't see any other questions. Now, I'm not on Facebook. Oh, wait, here we go. Thank you, JB. So anything on Facebook, I apologize. I love you guys. Thanks for paying attention and watching and sharing. But JB says, can an individual take Eliquis, their blood thinner, take the formula? Here's my thing about blood thinners, right? Always make sure that you show your practitioner, provider, physician, doctor, whatever it may be, always show them what's in here and let them make that deciding factor. So with blood thinners, we always err on the side of caution, of course, and make sure that you show this to your practitioner, whether they understand it or not, or whether they want to talk about it or not is a different subject. But at least please show this to them and say, here's some of the supplements that I'm taking. Some of them will actually look it over and tell you yay or nay. Some will say no and won't even want to look at it. And so just at least show it to them and talk to them about it, because that's something that has to be brought up with the practitioner. Blood pressure shot up. Just what to know we need to change. Send this one into customer service for me so I can look at this on a deeper level if you don't mind. His blood pressure shouldn't have shot up. Obviously we want to, but I don't know what SNPs were involved with him or ingredients. So here's the beauty and the curse of genetics. Every answer I give is depends. Well, what SNP do they have? Well, what ingredient is involved? It's not just a blanketed straight across the board answer ever. That's what I love about genetics, is that I can say, well, it depends all the time, and I can look into it deeper, right? Can we rewatch? Yes, Mary, you can rewatch the recording of this on Facebook, I believe. Yes, and thank you, Craig, for putting that up. support@euphoriascience.com for all your questions. It's hard for me to give an answer. It's like somebody says, what do I take for a headache? Well, what kind of headache do you have? Where's it located on your head? What, I have all these questions. The things that I do require very detailed and in-depth look at somebody's body, which is what we get to do here, which is awesome. But the answers are never blanketed and across the board. We have to look at each individual person to be able to find out why. What is going on, possibly even in his lifestyle, that could have contributed to that as well. So, all right, I think, oh wait, there might be more. I'm sorry, I forget to look at the Q&A, everybody. Low blood pressure, why is low blood pressure bad? Too low of blood pressure is very bad, right? We want normal healthy range, 120/80, 110/70, those are all great. You start getting into like 90/40, that's not good either, right? We need a healthy amount of blood pressure to keep that heart pumping the way that it's supposed to keep those electrolytes and fluids balanced in a healthy way. So too low and too high are both bad. Process of the liver can be affected by this product. Patricia, that's a very different off-topic question of cardiovascular support. If you could do me a favor so I can stay on track, because I have a minute, and send that into the customer service, that would be great. I would love to look into that and discuss that with you some more. Blood pressure one's 100/68. Is that too low? Sharon, that's beautiful. You may even have me beat. So 100/68 is a beautiful blood pressure. You start to get into like 90s/40s, and we start to go, why is this pressure so low? We don't want an unhealthy one in either way. Anything 140/90, now this is by most medical book standards, 140/90 and above is considered high. So we want to try to keep it under that if possible. I've seen people with 200/100 come walking in the office, and I'm thinking, do you have a headache? How do you not feel terrible right now? But they walk around because they don't know how to feel any different. Now we can help them, show them how to feel different. I had a patient tell me this yesterday. I know I'm up on time, but I have to say this. She said, for 1 minute during the day, after starting and talking to me and going through my, all of our stuff we went through, including genetics, I got a feeling of what it felt to be normal. I haven't felt that in my entire life. And this woman has been through a lot of emotional trauma and a lot of things, and it made me the happiest cry I've ever cried in a long time, except for last week when my daughter graduated. But it was incredible to hear that. So Facebook can be shared, absolutely. Supplementation affect triglycerides. They will help in a sense, Randy, but you also need to make sure that you include healthy lifestyle into that. Because again, remember what I said about triglycerides, it's excess energy stored from our food. So it will help support healthy cardiovascular support, but we need to make sure that we stay on top of our diet as well. So I'm going to wrap it up. It's 12:30. That's a big topic to cover in 30 minutes. And I'm sorry if I didn't answer all the questions from Sweden. Thank you so much for watching. How exciting is that? If I get out there, I'll be sure to give you guys a call. So thanks again for everything. Share it, love it, watch it again. Any questions, please go to our customer service and support there. And I appreciate all of your time and taking time to listen to me. So thank you.
Wahoo! Talk about CYP, PYT, pretty young thing. We've got Dr. Jen Myers, guys. What a blast to have her. I know it felt like a fire hose and fast. We could do this probably for hours for all of you euphoria freaks, right? You euphorians that just love this message and know that what you're doing is impacting not only your future, but hopefully generations to come. Again, a big thanks to Dr. Jen Myers. And hey, guys, I just got to remind you, Vegas is coming. We are less than 4 weeks from an incredible event in Vegas. That's going to be on the 27th. We kick off with a registration. And then we've got the U of U on Friday and recognition. Then we've got Eric Worre and a hypnotist, Vegas hypnotist. And then we've got a glow in the dark dance party on Saturday night. And then we've got science, and you're going to have Jen Myers there as part of our science panel. And not to mention, she's going to be there to answer your questions just in the hallways if you can grab onto her, gently. And then just have a blast with this, guys. And then it's all about leadership and leading us into the next phases of euphoria. So again, a big thank you. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you all next Wednesday, same time, 12 p.m. Look for the link on Facebook, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.